Alright, another Modern Mystic video. Video I missed, the Gold Standard Rant 2, Gary Rant 2, 1, yeah, the outside video. Yeah, I know this is a lot of videos and we're, bouncing around a little bit in the subject. That stupid poker face guy, Todd guy, made some video. I watched the first minute or two and you could just hear the same old jive. He's talking about how, checks are the same as cash, and like he's never gotten a bounce check before. I don't know what world you're living in, but like I said, if troubles are coming, I don't want a check on my shelf for $1,000 that's got some company's name on it that could have go bankrupt any second. Yeah, I'd much rather have the cash. Again, these are all just claims on stuff. I think thinking of cash as a buffer between stuff and money might be a good concept, which I mentioned in the last video. It might be a way of saying it that makes it better understood. That's what a standard does. The standard creates this place, this transition zone, where you can accept the fact that some of the money has monetized stuff, and that stuff can't just be taken. It has value, but the value isn't takeable in the sense that it might be a percentage of a business, or the value might be a house mortgage, or the value might be some other thing where you can't immediately extract it in a number of candy bars. It's not a box of candy bars where you can just say, I am entitled to 4 candy bars, give them to me. So cash creates a buffer between what's really happening in the world, which is people are monetizing stuff. They're mortgaging stuff. So this is another conceptual thing that I think would be good if we get agreement on. That money is a monetization of stuff. Okay, I'm going to write that down. And that's the idea of it anyway. Okay, that's the good money. And then we're stuck again with what banks do. Everybody just keeps talking about banks creating money. They don't just sit around creating money. They allow people, they provide a mechanism for people to monetize value. And that's sort of what happens when you're purchasing a home. The home gets monetized. Like say you get a second mortgage on a house, or whatever they call those mortgages. To rebuild or to fix something. You borrow money, you put a lien on the house to make it possible for you to do some stuff, and it's a certain value. It's a very safe loan. It's almost kind of loans people shouldn't have to pay interest on. It's such a good loan. But anyway, you say think in theory. I just throw it in there. You mentioned the debit card. Well, debit card, debit card really doesn't matter because it's always going to be a Visa or a MasterCard or some other shit for fuck company that's going to take their cut. So we don't really have a way of digitizing our money without paying some crook, huge fees for merely electronically transferring digits, which is really annoying. This should be something we have as like sidewalks. This should be something that's just done. Not for profit. Anyway. So the question in this other video was, we're back to the Federal Reserve again. He doesn't understand when I said the currency is translated in cash by the Fed every day. And I'm just saying that when the Fed does the net, the final product of the day to figure out who owes who what, the who owes who what is in cash, and that's what the reserve account has in it traditionally. Now let's just pretend it doesn't. Let's just pretend before QE, okay, before they mixed the stupid securities into the reserve accounts. The reserve accounts migrated a promise of cash from one place to another. It's essentially cash, okay? It's just not liquid cash, it's vault cash. And so it's not really in circulation cash, but it's cash. Okay, so it's cash not in circulation. Maybe we could say that's what reserve accounts are. Cash not in circulation. So it sort of just doesn't count as part of the money supply, but it's a liability to the money supply. And I'm sure the ex-traders on the currency markets, I'm pretty sure they must have thought it was pretty bad when $4 trillion showed up in those reserve accounts. I'm sure they didn't think much of the dollar while that was going on. I don't know. I don't keep up on this stuff day to day, but I'm sure that had to scare them a little. So anyway, yeah, so the Fed does the books. Okay, it says what are your liabilities, what are your deposits, what are your outstanding loans, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff is all kind of calculated, and there's a net transfer because a bank is, one bank owes another bank, and it's done in cash between those banks. So I'm saying that basically everything the bank has been converted into cash for that net transaction to take place. It's all been denominated into cash in the computer. Yeah, it's not made into real cash. They don't do every single transaction in cash, but I'm just saying the computer, while it's doing the numbers, is doing them in cash dollars. And the end product is the migration of cash, vault cash, from one bank to another bank. So that's what I mean by it's all converted into cash every day. Alright, so this new point you raised was that the currency traders are looking for. Yeah, the currency trading. What they're really looking for is the distance your currency is from being printed, I think. That's the way I would describe it. If I had to simply say what's the value of a currency, the value to a trader is how far is this currency from being printed, in terms of they're too desperate, they can't get it anywhere else, they have to print it. And so what creates liabilities to you printing cash? Well, how much have you insured, FDIC kind of mechanisms, and then obviously your debt. So if you're in bad shape, and let's say revenues crash, tax revenues because the market crashes, for example, how much liability do you have showing up every 4 months in terms of bonds coming due that you're going to have to pay off? And how are you going to pay them off if you haven't got revenues coming in? And are you going to decide to print cash to pay them off? And so that would be what I'm saying. That's why dollar traders, cash traders, don't like debt, because debt has to be paid in principle. Obviously, it's never paid off, but it has to be recycled, and it has to be reissued, and you have to pay the current holder and all that crap. And so there's a time period, or there may be a expense to the reissuing process. When you pay the previous holder, you may not get as much from the new buyer. So if your bonds aren't, if you have to pay a premium on your bonds, that's a liability. If you have to pay a higher premium, it essentially means you're getting less for your bonds, and so you're not going to get as much from the next sale as you paid out for the previous owner, and that would be perceived by a currency trader as a threat to you printing money. Yeah, so I think what they're looking at would be the same thing I would consider threats to the integrity of the dollar, is these liabilities, and that if you don't have any way to cover them, you don't have any reserves, you don't have any deposits in your insurance fund, it's underfunded, I know there's a word for that, what you call the assets an insurance company holds against their liabilities. I'm just not thinking the word, so unfortunately. Yeah, my ear's going a little funky again. Unfortunately. Yeah, it is. Damn. So, summer. It's going to be annoying if I have to go through that crap again. Shit. Anyway, not your problem, my problem. Fuck. Translated into cash by the Fed. Yeah, so I guess that's enough. The reserve banking thing is an interesting subject, just in terms of what really happens to investment when it's just about, I guess the point I guess I could argue, it's hard to say exactly how much it would be restricted, but I guess I would say that you could just expect that there would be some lack of freedom in terms of access to credit. I mean, there would be less. I was trying to think of some sort of fast or slow word, or easy, and it'd just be harder to borrow money in a full reserve system. Okay, yeah, that's probably enough. Let's see. Yeah, that's probably enough. Yeah, money is a money monetizes stuff. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so like I said, most loans are collateralized loans, which mean you're basically turning stuff into money. And the uncollateralized loans, the stuff you're converting is usually some promise of labor or some other kind of thing. So I'm just saying these are different elements of banking, and to say banks are just one of these things, like banks are just credit card companies, or banks are just making loans without security to corporations, or banks are just making mortgages. These are all different. These things all have different value to society, and they all have different risk. So putting them all in the same category as banking is kind of not too good. Yeah. Okay, so till the next installment and such, so forth and whatnot.